Fran Newton, the Artistic Director of the Niagara Regional Theatre Guild, and I'd like to welcome you to our 2020-2021 season announcement. You know, if these were normal times, about a month ago, we would all been together at our big annual fundraiser, Cheers to NRTG. We would have all raised a glass as we announced the new season from the stage, but of course these aren't normal times. We have to find a different way to do things nowadays, and that's exactly what we've done. Our board of directors has been meeting via Zoom, via text and email, and we've managed to come up with a very exciting season for next year. Now, we'd love to announce it in person and all be together, but we know we can't do that, so we had to find a unique way to announce as well. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have every director for each production announce the production that they are directing from their homes, since we're all social distancing. So before we get to our new season, let's just talk a little bit about a couple of items you may be wondering about. When we were forced to close back in March, like everyone else was, we were right in the middle of a beautiful production of Oscar Wilde's witty comedy Lady Windermere's Fan. Well, our actors have been rehearsing via Zoom every week to stay sharp on that show. We have the sets still standing, we have the costumes cleaned and hanging in the dressing rooms, and as soon as we are given the all clear to open, we are going to be presenting Lady Windermere's Fan. Also, we had a May production scheduled of Woody Allen's hysterical musical Bullets Over Broadway. Well, just like Lady Windermere's Fan, as soon as we are given the all clear, we're going to present Lady Windermere's Fan, followed immediately by Bullets Over Broadway. If you have tickets to either of these two shows, we will be in touch with you as soon as we have firm dates, and we'll let you know how you can exchange the tickets you had for the old performance for the new performance coming up. Likewise, we will be doing Cheers this year. Cheers to NRTG will happen. Now, we have 100 and some odd theme baskets, we have silent auction items, we have restaurant certificates, bottles of wine, everything you'd expect at Cheers. We were ready to go when we were forced to close. And so what we're going to do is we're going to present Cheers sometime in August or September. We have dates reserved. All we need now is the ability to all gather again. And so please, we are asking you, if you have tickets to Cheers, please keep some dates open for us. If you don't have tickets to Cheers, we're counting on your support. But Cheers will be happening later in the summer. Now, on with what you really came to see, and that's the new season. You know, there's a lot of things that you can miss about theater. Some people miss the laughter, some people miss the music, some people miss the drama or the spectacle. Well, if you're like a lot of us, you miss the people. But whatever it is you miss about theater, it can be summed up in one phrase. You miss the magic of theater. And that is our theme for this upcoming season. The season, just to let you know, was chosen specifically from your responses to our survey. You see, we decided that whether you're the kind of person that's going to rush out the door when you're given the all clear, or the kind of person that's just going to take a few steps at a time, we want you to be coming back to the Niagara Regional Theatre Guild. We want to draw you back with a great season, so what we've done is we have filled the season with Broadway classics, shows that everyone knows and everyone wants to see. They're your top choices from every category on our survey. We've also changed our format a little bit this year. We decided that we've seen enough sacrifice, we've seen enough people working and struggling, and we thought instead of putting a drama in the season, what we do is we bring everyone back out and enjoy a few laughs together. So instead of a drama, we've put in 2 comedies into the season. So we have taken your top choices and put them into a blockbuster season next year. And that's what we're going to be announcing tonight. At the end of the evening, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Cheers to NRTG again, and a couple of other ways that you can help us with fundraising during this difficult time. So please stay tuned for that. But without further ado, I'm going to send it now to the director of the first production of our season. Did I happen to mention that I'm directing the first show of the season? I'm very happy to do so. I love directing the opening show. But before we get to that, I've asked each of the directors tonight to talk a little bit about social distancing and about some fun facts having to do with NRTG. Now, social distancing has been very interesting for us. We have gotten more housework done around our house than we've probably done in 10 years. And that's because we're always at the theater. So it's been kind of a treat for us to be able to go work around the yard before July comes. Now, fun facts about the theater. I'll give you one that was very interesting. When I first came to the theater, we were in a small little playhouse called the Maynard Burgess Playhouse on Cleveland and 16th in Niagara Falls. And it was called the Maynard Burgess Playhouse because it was named after one of the leading members of the Niagara Falls Little Theatre, which is what we were called back then. Maynard Burgess. Now, I never got to meet Maynard, but he was a legend around the theater. He was a director, president of the theater. He was the dramaturge. He did sets. He was an actor. Few things you may not know about Maynard. He directed the very first and highly successful production for the Shaw Festival up in Niagara-on-the-Lake. He took some people from NRTG with him to fill out his production staff, and he went across the border. He directed their first production. It was widely acclaimed and highly successful, and today we have a wonderful theatrical festival every summer across the border that was started in part by a leading member of NRTG. The Playhouse is named the Maynard Burgess Playhouse because, as the story goes, Maynard died in the Playhouse. He had a heart attack while directing the Sunshine Boys, and it's reported that his last words were, "Make sure the set is right." So of course they had to name the Playhouse the Maynard Burgess Playhouse. If you walk into our theater today and you turn right and you look at the portrait that's above the fireplace to your right, it's a large portrait, and that portrait is of Maynard Burgess. It hung in the lobby of the Maynard Burgess Playhouse. Now then, on to what you really came for. The magic of theater means a lot of things, but one of the things that can happen in theater is you can rise from obscurity to stardom in no time at all. And that's the story of the opening show of next season. Taking a poor young lady who's just trying to make the chorus and suddenly making her the lead of a Broadway show. And all the comedy and all the different aspects that come with that, including some tremendous dancing and some incredible music. You should know the music. If you're from Buffalo, there's Shuffle Off to Buffalo. There's The Lullaby of Broadway. And of course there's the title tune from the show, 42nd Street. That's right, we're opening with the huge musical 42nd Street next season. And we're very, very hopeful that you all will be able to come and see that terrific production. So stay tuned for what's coming up next, because Joe FRATELLO, the vice chair of our organization and the director of the second show, is coming right up with what he will be directing for us this year.
Thank you for the introduction, Fran. Again, my name is Joe FRATELLO. I'm a member of the Board of Directors at Niagara Regional Theatre Guild, and I'm happy to be with you to announce the second production of the upcoming 2020-2021 NRTG season. But first, a little bit about how me and my wife have been surviving. We've been working from home now for the last 9 weeks. We are very happy to have jobs that allow that sort of flexibility so that we can be home, especially since we're also here with our 7-year-old. So we've been doing all the distance learning and homeschooling for second grade. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but one that we're happy to be home for. And also, we cannot wait to be back with you all again when it is safe to do so at the Ellicott Creek Playhouse. With that in mind, I wanted to get right into what the upcoming production is going to be. I'm very happy to be back directing a play. There's a hint, it's a play this year. It's been a few years since I directed a play, and one that for the last few years has been a top vote getter with our patrons, and we're always happy to get that response and feedback from our patrons. So without further ado, I am happy to announce the second production is The Man Who Came to Dinner. It's a wonderful play by George Kaufman and Moss Hart. It premiered on Broadway in 1939, running for over 700 performances. It is a very funny play filled with lots of zany personalities, centering around the arrogant radio personality Sheridan Whiteside, who is doing a national tour and is visiting a prominent family in Ohio before he gets injured slipping on ice and is forced to spend the holidays with this family. And then in comes all of the characters around the family and Sheridan's entourage, and a lot of hilarity ensues. It's a play that Niagara Regional Theatre Guild, we do very well, I think, with all of the really wacky personalities involved. Some fun facts about the Ellicott Creek Playhouse. I'm actually coming up on my 10th season with Niagara Regional Theatre Guild. I've been with the Ellicott Creek Playhouse the entire time. It started on October 1st, 2010 with the production of Oliver. They received their occupancy license that day at 10:30 a.m. after the volunteers worked tirelessly to build the stage, the floor, the walls, everything from scratch. Another fun thing about the ECP, in the 2014-2015 season, we introduced our 16-foot revolve, and that is run on 70 casters, and actually we lifted that again this summer to perform some much needed maintenance on it. With that in mind, I'm going to hand it off to a man who probably needs no introduction if you've seen any of our Broadway in Concert series, another fellow director, fellow board member, and a man I'm proud to call my friend, Gary Gaffney. Take it away, Gary.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gary Gaffney. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Niagara Regional Theatre Guild. I joined this group in 2004 when we were the resident theater company at the historic Riviera Theatre in North Tonawanda. That theater opened its doors in 1926, making it 3 years younger than our company, which raised its first curtain in 1923. After decades of being Niagara Falls Little Theatre, we made the move to the Riv and decided it was appropriate to change our name to more properly reflect the area from which we draw our patrons and our performers. Thus was born Niagara Regional Theatre Guild. It was also during our run at the Riv that we produced the largest drawing show in our history. Some nights we had 500 people in the audience. Amazing. We were the first to perform Tom Dudzick's Over the Tavern after its successful run at Studio Arena in Buffalo. We're not doing that show this year, but we will probably in the future. As you can tell, I've been practicing the social distancing rules here, if you can tell from my haircut. Luckily, I have a nice home, and it's large enough that my wife and I can practice our social distancing enough to maintain our happy marriage. There's been some adjustments. We no longer have AM and PM. It's now coffee time and wine time. And of course, I've had to change the batteries in my remote for my television set more than I'd like. But you know, if we all behave ourselves, before long we can get back to some sense of normal, and that'll include live theater at the Ellicott Creek Playhouse. Now, I'm delighted to report that I will be directing a show this year and the next season. It's a non-musical comedy, which I believe will be in the first slot in 2021. Now, this is a show that this group has not done since the mid-1980s, when we were at home in the Niagara Falls Convention Center's Greek Theater. The show won the 1945 Pulitzer Prize for Drama, had a successful 4-year run on Broadway, during which 6 different actors played the lead role. One of them was Jimmy Stewart. He also went on to play the lead in the 1950 movie. Now, when I tell you that the lead character's friend stood 6'3" and 1.5 inches tall and was an invisible rabbit, you'll realize the show is Harvey. I was delighted to hear that we were going to do the show next season, and I was even more delighted when I was invited to direct it. I was introduced to the stage play when I was in high school back in the 60s. I was really taken by the subtleties of the gentle-spirited character of Elwood P. Dowd. I really look forward to the challenge of casting just the right actor, and I look forward to molding a production which will bring out in the audience the same emotional connection that I've carried with me for all these years. Now, when I heard that this show was one of the top 2 comedies chosen by our audience survey, I was assured that you folks would all be receptive to that. I look forward to seeing you all very soon, and I'll now introduce you to my dear friend and fellow director, Kim PETERSDORF.
Hi everyone, my name is Kim PETERSDORF and I am one of the directors this year for the Guild. Social distancing has been interesting. I have to go to work every single day. I'm considered an essential worker. So working through that and the challenges that that presents have been a struggle, but I'm getting through it as best as I can every single day. One of my favorite memories about the Guild, about NRTG, is from my first season. And this season, they opened with Fiddler on the Roof, which is a show that we have opened with often when we are in a new building. And this year was no different. Fiddler was also the show that we opened at the Ellicott Creek Playhouse with, which is where we're located now. And also in this, my first season, which was the 2007-2008 season at Cardinal O'Hara High School, we did a show called My Fair Lady. And I ended up auditioning for it because Dawn was in my line at the bank where I was working at the time and told me to come down and audition, so I did. What I didn't know at the time was that she was also the director of the show. So when I got there to auditions, to my surprise, she is there running the auditions in the auditorium. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to come back to call back for Eliza Doolittle, and I ended up being cast as Eliza. So that was a lot of fun my first year with the Guild, and it's been a great 12 years ever since. The show that I'm directing this year is our Actor's Choice for the 2020-21 season, and it is a show that is so fun and hilarious, and I think that audiences and our actors are going to just love it. Lots of memorable quotes. It's funny, upbeat, and I think that people are going to know some of the lines before the actors even say them, which is one of the cases that we saw with Young Frankenstein, which I directed a few years ago. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's our Actors' Choice show, which our actors picked to put in the season. So I know that they're really going to enjoy this show and this opportunity and the challenges it presents. So some facts about this show before I announce it. The team that came up with the source material for this show has been working together since 1969. The film version of this show, so this is a musical that's based on a film, this film was financed in part by Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and Genesis. Those are a couple of bands that financed this film, which I thought was really interesting. And it is one of 8 United Kingdom musicals that was commemorated on Royal Mail stamps that were issued in February of 2011. And there might also be a food of sorts mentioned in a title of the show. If you haven't guessed it by now, I will tell you. But our Actor's Choice for the 2020-2021 season for NRTG is Spamalot, Monty Python's Spamalot. And I can't wait to direct it. It's going to be so much fun. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dawn Marcolini Newton, who's going to tell you about the show she'll be directing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for attending tonight's season announcement. My name is Dawn Marcolini Newton, and I have the honor and privilege of directing the final show of the season. But before we get to that, a few fun facts from my side. The show was West Side Story many years ago, and I was cast as a shark dancer in my first Niagara Regional Theatre Guild, or as it was known back then, Niagara Falls Little Theatre production. A young, dashing actor by the name of FRAN Newton was cast in the part of Bernardo. Fast forward, and Fran and I will be celebrating our 34th wedding anniversary this December. But we weren't the only couple to meet and eventually get married at the theater. Fran and I counted it up, and since we've been in charge, at least 15 couples have met at the theater and eventually gotten married. We believe that's almost one couple per year. I used to joke around backstage and say if this theater gig doesn't work out, the theater company could always become a dating service. Another thing you may not know about me is that my favorite color is blue. If I were to take you on a little tour of our house right now, you would know that most every room is either painted blue or has a blue accent to it. But what you probably didn't know is the next time you walk into the theater, take a look at the walls. They are painted blue. The seats that you're going to sit in, blue. But it doesn't end there. Sam Sinaspirio, our scenic designer, he knows that my favorite color is blue. So when I direct a show, he always tries to find a place to put blue in the set. If you came to see our production of Death of a Salesman this past season, you will note that the boys' bedroom painted blue. Nancy Watts, our costumer, who does just a tremendous job, her job is to take into consideration the show, the timeline, but she always, when it comes to me, considers my favorite color is blue. So if I'm in a show, chances are that will be the costume color somewhere in the show. Please do come and see our next production of Lady Windermere's Fan. I wear a lovely evening gown in a party scene, and the color, as you guessed it, is blue. But now on to my big announcement. The show that I'm going to direct is very near and dear to me. I first became familiar with this show when I was a junior in high school and was asked to choreograph it all by myself. I fell in love with choreography at that point, and it was a skill I come to use all the time at the Guild. The show itself has a balletic flair, and I have extensive ballet training. The show itself takes place in Scotland. So if you haven't guessed it by now, the show that we are going to close the season with is Brigadoon. But I told you we all have some fun facts about our shows. Mine is that my mother is actually Scottish. Her maiden name, McKinnon. When you take a look at the poster design, please note the plaid that's in the background. It's the McKinnon plaid. So yes, I'm honored and thrilled to be directing the closing show of the season, Brigadoon. And I hope to see you at the ECP soon.
Well, there you have it. 5 wildly successful productions on Broadway that are now coming to the Ellicott Creek Playhouse stage. The magic of theater. From a young performer rising from obscurity to stardom, to a town that magically appears once every 100 years. From a very theatrical man who comes to dinner and stays with all the craziness he brings, to an invisible rabbit who is your best friend. From a hysterical comedy on the big screen that shrinks down and is brought to the Ellicott Creek Playhouse stage. It truly will be a magical season, and we hope to see all of you there. But before we go, I mentioned that there were a couple ways that you could support us during this difficult time. I want to mention again that we will be bringing Cheers to NRTG later in the summer. Watch for announcements for that because we're counting on your support at Cheers. But in the meantime, on Facebook we have a GoFundMe campaign called The Next Stage. It's helping the theater get from this stage, which is so difficult, to the next stage where we are bringing these wonderful productions to you. Your help and your support would mean more to us than you know. And of course, you can go to our website. On our website, in the top right-hand corner, there's a patron button that you can push. And when you do that, you will be taken to a site where you can donate as a patron of NRTG. Our patrons are the backbone of our theater. And anyone who donates in either location will be a patron for next year's season. Your support is so terribly important at this time, and we appreciate the support that we've gotten thus far. So, once again, we thank you for tuning in, and especially, we thank you for the support that you have shown us over the years and that you continue to show us. Thank you.